or the
Yeah, there's Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity where...
Information Systems and Cybersecurity is the Bachelor's of Science. That's what, because I said I wanted, instead of computer science, to do cybersecurity, they automatically put me in management.
Yep, they did.
And then I was hearing about that, and I'm like, I want to switch, you know. So
It just,
The difference between the two is that cybersecurity, the BS in information systems and cybersecurity is a lot more technical, and it prepares you for technical jobs like being an ethical hacker and stuff of that nature. Where the business management one, the BBA and cybersecurity management, that is to be, what you do in that position isn't like ethical hacking. That what you do with that degree is you analyze business processes, create acceptable use policies, create all of the documentation necessary. You know, what about disaster recovery? You know, your science people aren't doing disaster recovery and setting all that documentation in place. You know, they're not creating that. We have someone else for that. Now the thing is the BBA can bring you closer to being a CIO, where a BS is going to keep you in that technical realm of protecting the data, et cetera, et cetera. You know, does it mean you can't become a CIO? No. But it's a different path because you're working your way up to that, or you're working your way to administration and then you move up. So you got to look at the path and what's the path of least resistance for the position you desire. You know, but that's the difference between the two. You know, the BS has the BBA built into it. So all of the stuff, and that's the other issue. Okay, the information systems, cybersecurity management, the BS in that, it is based off of the other program. The reason it's a BS is because you take a lot more classes in the major, because you're taking all of the stuff from the BBA, which is the management, and then you're adding a bunch of technical classes to it. So instead of taking, I'm trying to remember how many, I think it's 10 or 12 classes in a major. Now you're taking 16 because you're adding the technical aspect to it. It adds that many more classes that are cybersecurity related. But it also, that BS degree takes some of the business, it takes some of the core classes, like the general core classes at Northwood that you have to take, and it gets rid of them to replace, you know, because we needed those 6 extra classes. It replaces 6 of the gen ed, like cores. I don't remember what classes it replaces, but it does. I mean, you can go out and you can look at the curriculum guides for the two, and you'll be able to look and figure out, okay, well, I don't have to take this class or this class or this class if I do this, but this actually has everything I want to do. Mm-hmm. You know, if that's the career path I want to take, do I need these other things? Well, it was deemed that you didn't, you know. So I just the things you want to think about, you know. I always say your advisors are a good place to go, but if you want direction on things, they don't have all the answers. So you're better off coming to a faculty member sometimes in that field and saying, hey, you know, this is what I really want to do. What should I do? You know, can you help guide me? And depending on what you tell me, you know, I might tell you, yeah, go minor in that and do your, and here's where the finance would come in handy, or accounting, is with the cybersecurity, like the management side. You're setting principles in place and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're setting the ground rules for the organization as far as how we handle data and that. If you're the BS person, what you're going to do is you're going to be diving into files and that, looking for anomalies and seeking where people might be stealing and stuff like that.
I like that, that's how I kind of got started into this stuff though. So it's just kind of like push, you know?
Yeah, but you can do it without finance. That's my point.
I'm probably not, the second choice of like anything was, like, if I didn't want to do cybersecurity, probably finance.
Yeah.
But, like, I like the networking side of things, so like, I like the problem-solving aspect of this, you know?
Yeah, if you like that.
That's why I like enjoy it, because I the problems, you know, it's fun.
Well, and here's the thing, is the BBA
Yeah.
in cybersecurity management has a minor already built in almost for MIS.
Okay.
So what MIS does is kind of what you're talking about in some ways, right? You're looking at how we improve processes and that through technology. And it's not necessarily just infrastructure, it's through technology in general. Now, having somebody with a computer science degree that looks at it, or a well, you need all of them. You need someone with a computer science degree, you need someone with cybersecurity, like a BS in that.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, as an MIS person, I'd be like, hey, we're going to let everyone use their personal phone. Okay, well, what did I just create? What kind of monster did I create? How do we protect our data when everyone's using their own stuff? I think I had a conversation about that in this class where I was talking to my brother, and we were talking just about things like the medical industry, people working from home because of COVID. Well, what kind of records are they pulling up in their home? How does that violate any laws, maybe?
It's insane.
You know, privacy laws and stuff like that. It could be as simple as, you know, who's responsible
Yeah.
for something that happens to you while you're on a meeting
Like,
in your home, you know?
my sister's,
Intellectual property.
she works for it's like a drug institute, like, company, she's like the CFO there.
Street corner pharmacist.
I don't know what she really does, but she got rid of her security team for some reason. And I should ask her why, but
Well,
she said she didn't really like need it, but I'm like, okay.
well, the thing is sometimes you get rid of your security team. Security is one of those things that if you're locking stuff down properly,
Yeah.
it upsets people because you're making their job harder.
I think all their stuff is through, it's all probably through Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google stuff like that.
So the thing is Google probably already protects you data on their end.
Yeah,
But the problem
Not
is,
your end.
you're accessing it here. It's like I was telling my brother, I said, because he works for a hospital, and he's working at home and stuff, and I said, well, do they have any requirement on a router that you connect to? You know, do they have security requirements and stuff?
Yeah.
He's like, well, no. I'm like, well, then you shouldn't be working at home.
Yeah.
What does that do? You know, yes, you have to use your work's computer, and yes, you have to authenticate the computer, etc. But once you're logged on, if your network's not secure, they have access to everything. So, do we have anything in place for that? You know, and I'm not a cybersecurity expert by any means, but I do have an analytical mind, and I can see the problem. You know, and other people can't. Like your sister.
I don't know. I don't know actually that.
Well, and here's the thing, and there might be a perfectly logical explanation, but a lot of times what's happening is people are basing decisions based on personal desires and feelings. And if my desire is not to be locked down by your cybersecurity, I'm going to be like, well, I don't really appreciate how hard you're making my job. I don't need you.
Yeah, and probably plus they save a lot of money probably too.
Yeah, but that's definitely not a good reason to do it. Unless they hired in-house, or if they outsourced.
I think it was definitely outsourced company.
So maybe they're bringing people inside, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing, but quite literally, you know, DeWeaver always talked about, and still talks about, zero trust. Well, why don't we use zero trust? Because it creates a nightmare for the users. People want to be able to just log on and be good. We do not want to have to pull out our cell phone and type a code in and all these other things. So, you know, it's called ease of use. You remember in class when I talked about the principles for how people select technology or how people are willing to use technology acceptance models? That's actually one of the things he's using in his dissertation are the technology acceptance models. Because the technology acceptance model just points out the fact that, well, ease of use. People do not deem that type of security, like zero trust, as ease of use. The only people that see it as ease of use are cybersecurity professionals that are setting it up, because that makes their job easier, right? So it makes it harder for other people to adopt that technology, to choose that technology, because, well, you're telling me this is better, but how much better, number one? What are our chances on being hit? You know, if it's 1 in a million, am I willing to take that risk? You know, yeah, probably, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, when you put zero trust in and your president of your university can't do a meeting by some chance because some security setting on his computer, yeah, you might get fired. You know, that ease of use is something that people do not want to give up. And, you know, that it all I don't mind having this conversation and all the conversations we've had because they totally roll into Intro to MIS, right? Why do we choose what we choose, and, you know, what does that do? And that's the thing I can't stress enough, is always keep that sociological mindset of what am I doing to people? Even cybersecurity, what am I doing to people? What am I requiring of people? Northwood, when they did their dual authentication recently, I have to use my cell phone, my personal cell phone, because they don't give me a phone. Not my brother, close friend of mine, he's a doctor, and to write prescriptions for opioids, he has a little key fob. And when he goes to write that prescription, that key fob gives him a code. And it's a different code every single time, and it lasts approximately 5 minutes before it changes again, or maybe less than that. So he hits a button, it gives him a code, and it's good for a very short period of time. And why couldn't we use a device like that instead of using our phone? You know, what would that take? What are the costs involved with that? Would that be less cumbersome than what we're doing now? You know, does Microsoft even offer that? Because we're using what we use because it's built into Microsoft. Sorry about that. It's my brother. I'd answer, but he's ugly. He turned 50 on the 2nd. I'm like, well, now I get to sit back for a couple of years and see how shitty that is. So, you know, he's like, I hate you. I think